Hey all, today I'm going to make a simple application using text boxes and buttons. As you can see, this is the application we're going to make today. It has two text boxes. The first one where you can enter your name. The second text box where you can enter your PIN using the PIN buttons over here. There's a button clear PIN which you can tap and clear the PIN you have entered over here. And the last button, click me. When you click that, you can find out whether you have entered the right PIN or the wrong PIN. So this is the application we are going to make today. So let's power up Xcode and a new project. Let's call it PIN. Right. So let's go to the interface builder, pin view controller, and populate the pin view controller zip view with the required elements. So first we need a text box. So that's the text box over there. And I need a placeholder text. Enter your name. And I will align it in the center. And then I need another text box for my PIN. So I'll drag another text box. I will align it with the username text box. Again, I'll have a placeholder text. Your PIN. And I will align it to the center. So we have two text boxes. Now we need 4 buttons which will represent my pins. So let's take button number 1 over here, button number 2, button number 3, and button number 4. Now I don't have enough space for all the 4 buttons, so I'm going to reduce the size. So that's 1 over there, so that's 2, that's 3, and that's 4. Oops. Right. So I have 4 buttons. Let me align it. Right. So I have 4 pin buttons. Let's give it the number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we need 2 more buttons. One is the clear pin button and one the click me button. So let's get that. So one button for clear me and another button for click me. Let's name this as clear pin, and this one as click me. Right. So we have our interface ready. Now we need to go back to Xcode to write codes for these elements. So keep in mind that we have two text boxes, one to enter name, one to enter pin, some buttons to enter the pin, one button to clear the pin, and one button to click so that to find out whether you have entered the right pin or not. So we have two text boxes and three set of buttons. So there will be two outlets for these two text boxes or text fields and three actions for these three sets of pins. So let's save this and go back to Xcode. So I'll go for pin view controller.h class, interface class, and I'll define my outlets here. So initially two outlets for my text field box, IB outlet, call the UI text field class, and I'll call the pointer your name, IP outlet, again call the text field class, and this time I'll call the pointer your pin field. So these are the two text boxes for your name and your pin. Now let's define the properties for these two instance variables if we need to access it. So property non-atomic retain, let's copy and paste to avoid any typos. Command C, Command V, let's copy the whole thing, Command C and Command V, and change it. Command C, Command V. Also, we need to synthesize before we can access this instance variables. So let's move on to .hem implementation file and synthesize these two instance variables. Synthesize your name and synthesize your pin field. Let's save it. And before I forget, I would like to release these two variables, because while instantiating it we have actually allotted memory for these two variables, so we need to release it once we have finished using it. So let's release it. Your name, release, your pin field, release, and save it. Command S. So going back to the .h file, the interface file, so we have outlets for our two text fields. Now if you remember, we had three sets of buttons, so we need to define three sets of action. So let's start doing that. The first action will be for when the user uses the pin buttons to enter the pin. So I'll call it enter pin button clicked. And it will be sent by the sender. The next action would be when the user clicks the clear pin button if he wants to clear the pin from the pin text box. So let's define that action, and I'll call it clear pin button